What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Keeping It Real podcast, where every week we talk all things movies and TV. I'm your host, James, and I'm joined by my co-hosts, Jack, Calvin, and Reese. Today, we're giving you a full spoiler review of Adam Wingard's Godzilla vs. Kong, the fourth in legendary and Warner Brothers MonsterVerse, the monumental clashing of cinema's biggest titans. After 49 years apart, Godzilla and Kong once again come to blows on the big screen. I guess for most of us, our TV, actually. Kong from Skull Island is being transported to the Hollow Earth, where our characters believe his race may have originated from. However, on this perilous journey, they encounter Godzilla, the Alpha Titan, who needs to take Kong out to keep his crown. So to start this one on a positive note, before I imagine we rip this one a new hole, Reese, what did you think of Godzilla versus Kong?
I thought it was fine. I thought, a minute in, when King Kong scratched his ass, I was really sold on this film. I thought this film was going to be fun. It might not be good, but I'm not going to be overly disappointed when I finish it.
Okay, I support that. So was that your thought all the way through the movie? Is this is starting off with Kong scratching his ass, so I'm going to enjoy this?
Yeah, whenever I kind of got to a point where I was like, oh, this film's doing my head, and I was like, no, he scratched his ass. Remember that, Reese? Remember that funny bit at the start?
So just to clarify before we really go in deep on this one, have we all enjoyed the MonsterVerse up till now?
I think it's super forgettable.
Yeah.
I
could not
go without it.
I could not tell you what happens in either of the Godzilla movies. I know that Bryan Cranston's in the first one. He's not. Does he die? Is that why?
Yeah,
because about 20 minutes in.
Because the whole trailer made it seem like he was in the whole thing, and then
that's how they sold that movie.
They off him 20 minutes into the film.
Yeah, that's the trailer's issue, though, isn't it? The director usually doesn't have much to do with the trailer.
They tried to do a Psycho on us, but it didn't quite work as well.
Yeah, I really enjoy that Gareth Edwards Godzilla. I think it's the best one out of them all. His direction style is it gives such a brooding, eerie tone throughout the entire film. I really like it.
I'll tell you what, I do have problems with that first Godzilla movie, but I appreciate it so much more now that we've seen this. I was ranting about this last night in my garden to my housemate. Just Gareth Edwards' use of scale is so impressive. It's incredible, and I love the way he photographs Godzilla. It's from our perspective, it's scary, it's huge, it looks great, and it really works in that movie. And he brought that to Rogue One as well with his use of scale. Like the Death Star just looks so massive and intimidating. And now in this, a lot of the action is from, the height of the monsters, and it really doesn't have the same effect. And I was very aware that I was just staring at two things that aren't actually there.
Yeah. I didn't like this film at all, to be honest. I just thought it was a massive mess. The plot was so incomprehensible and convoluted. There was never a time where I thought what any of the characters was doing was needed, or a time when I thought I knew what they were even doing. I know in this franchise, people obviously say they don't like the human characters within them as they are marketed these big fighting monster flicks. But out of all the films in the universe so far, this had the worst characters and character development by far. Everyone was either stupid, one note, or just plain bland, to be honest. And I truly think that if you gave this to someone who was a good director or someone who wrote a really great script, then this could make a really good film. I'm sort of sick of people just constantly saying bad films can be excused of ridicule because they are just, in quotation marks, fun or not to be taken seriously, or people say, but it's so self-aware, it knows what it sort of is. I just think it's such a scapegoat now, which in turn gives Hollywood a reason to churn out just more and more shit. I believe no matter how zany, weird or crazy your idea is, if you write it well, if you've got someone behind it who's committed to it, who wants to set out to make a good film, they will most likely do a better job than what we've seen. Yeah, I just think it's about the skill of the writer or the director or the commitment of them and the producers, and which make things great. And to just look at the sort of things we're getting from James Gunn or Taika Waititi, complete off the walls batshit stuff, but it's good.
Things that shouldn't
can be
work,
good.
but they do because
Yeah.
they try. Yeah, and
I
go on.
do agree with Calvin on the human characters. I said the same in Godzilla King of Monsters as well. They're so boring.
Right, yeah. So
Like
I
Millie
think
Bobby Brown's character in this infuriated me. So I'm
yeah,
like,
Yeah.
what are you doing? Like,
There's no point of her being in it at all.
just
No.
stay. You're just there to cause a problem.
Yeah,
And
even
the
worse,
one line that just annoyed the living hell out of me was when that kid was like, "It's Mecha Godzilla." Shut up!
Yeah.
No one speaks like that.
Oh yeah, but come on. I was like, by then I was like, yeah, that is the movie we're in. That is
Like-
that is something these people would say.
It was so stupid.
But I think because up until the biggest complaint about these MonsterVerse movies has been, oh, there's too much human drama. We don't care about them, and I've never took it as there's too much human drama. It's just that it's just poorly written and it's not
It's
not interesting.
it's just not good.
If the human
if it
drama was well
interesting,
written,
it would be good.
I wouldn't mind because I appreciate what Gareth Edwards was going for with his Jaws-like approach to the first Godzilla of keeping it hidden, and so there's more mystery about it, and then when you actually do see it at the end, it's so much more rewarding. But we are taken back to these really dull human characters, and they're not captivating at all. And
Yeah,
I think this has been the best example of it so far because
I think I bought in.
there's not a lot of humans, but
so the two on the King Kong side of it, the little girl and the doctor, whatever she was.
Yeah, I did. Yeah,
I can believe that they could have a connection with King Kong.
Yeah,
because we've seen that humans can have connections with like apes and that. But this like random girl who really cares about this giant lizard is
because
just
she
so
was in a
odd.
Godzilla movie. That's the only reason why
Like-
she's
It's not very real,
Yeah.
if you ask me, James. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, the little girl, I don't know her character's name, the deaf little girl.
Yeah.
She obviously in the film served no purpose to the plot other than to ask Kong at the end to go and fight with Godzilla against the inevitable bigger threat that we all knew was going to come. But I thought when I saw the trailer, I thought she was going to be so much more involved, and I'd argue that she is the only interesting character in this film. If it was just her and Kong, I would have preferred it so much, that sort of dynamic. And I like the way Kong, it's a big animal, so the way you give it a performance is through its movements and stuff, like you see with motion capture. And the same with how Andy Serkis did his King Kong. It was all caught through bodily acting, which makes you believe in the character. And it's the same with having a character who's deaf. There's no dialogue there, but it's all expressive body movements. And I just thought that would have worked so much better for me, because the acting isn't rigid, it's expressive because they have to use their bodies. I don't know if anyone else thought of that, but she was the one that I thought would work for me on another level.
Yeah,
that character did work for
that-
me because I thought, like, obviously she's not really pushing the plot forward, but I thought she served to really get us invested in Kong, because that is what they are pushing Kong as the protagonist in this movie. Godzilla is very much the antagonist. So I thought having that human bond just pushed that more, and I felt that worked. I was rooting for Kong like all the way through because of that.
I always saw it as Kong, because he's an ape and he'll have so much more in common. Like they humanized him so much, being able to. But then I didn't see Godzilla as the sort of antagonist. I always saw him as this sort of benevolent thing, like he's just there and he will just balance tip the balance.
He's
but
not
then
hero
Kong
or
is the
villain,
more
he's just
sympathetic
a force of nature. Yeah, he just is Godzilla. It doesn't matter who's in his way. He will do.
I'm still
him.
struggling to find the point of why they gave Kong the big axe. I know he takes down Mecha Godzilla with it, but when they set it up that way, I was like, okay, Kong has always been the underdog, and everyone loves an underdog story. So maybe Kong is going to get the better of Godzilla in this, and they still went the other way, the way everyone thought it was going to go.
That's
where he essentially yields to Godzilla. I quite liked the idea of this underdog. It's so much more interesting watching an underdog fight something bigger than the other way around.
That was my thought all the way through. And so when he gets his axe, you're like, oh, okay, he lost that first round, but he's got a fighting chance now, and he's going to come back and he's going to beat Godzilla. So then when it did turn out that Godzilla won, it just felt so empty, and I was so just let down. I was like, okay, but why have I been caring in this big CGI gorilla then? If you're not even going to give him the win, it felt odd to me that they went that way.
His axe seemed to be able to tear Mechagodzilla limb from limb easily with one sweep, but he got the biggest hit I've ever seen on Godzilla's head, and he just got back up. That should have torn him. That just sliced him in half. If it can do that. He had all
of the energy then, didn't he? In it, he had the
but he had the energy. He was
special
catching it.
Godzilla breath on it.
But no, he was catching it as he jumped.
Maybe
that whole thing
just doesn't
I
work on Godzilla.
out in that fight scene. It got to the point where I was just like, just someone win. I was like, for God's sake.
I know it's what we wanted. We wanted a big stupid fight, but by that end time, I was like, oh God, there's 40 minutes left.
Like, how did the Mechagodzilla become,
achieve sentience?
Sentient.
Yeah. Oh, I got that. I mean, I just assumed that was Ghidorah sort of taking over. They powered it up enough that Ghidorah's sentience.
They should have explained that.
Yeah, it's like the way they transfer the energy as well with those things is weird, because like you can't do that.
Oh, right. So that point is one of my biggest problems with the film, is that there's no real struggle for anything. It's just, we need to do this. We've got this to do it. Yeah. There's no effort to make it difficult or anything. It was like, okay, we need this to do that, so that Godzilla and Kong can fight. And it was like, well, yeah, it can do that.
It was kind of that classic thing of like, we'll just put science-y words in. And when they're explaining, like, the ships they're using to get into Hollow, they don't really explain that. They just kind of use a bunch of words.
The fact that
sound sciencey, and we're supposed to sit there and be like, yeah, this will work because it's
the fact that those ships and all that technology existed within the same context of the first Godzilla movie, it just baffled me. So this is such a tonal jump from what we've had before.
Why? I was thinking, why weren't they using those? If they wanted to they were using jets to try and take down Godzilla. Why use these crazy, whatever they are?
I know. And after the first
levitating ships,
after the first couple of jets get smashed to pieces, you think they'd be like, "Oh, this isn't working." They just keep doing it. They just keep throwing jets at it.
That's just to make it look. That's just to make it look cool, yeah. And going back into this point, to top it all off, the worst part of the film for me was Mechagodzilla essentially being defeated by spilling liquid on a console that short circuits it long enough for Kong to defeat Mechagodzilla. I cannot believe someone actually wrote this into a film and thought it was a solid, interesting idea. Wouldn't technology this advanced to control a giant metal lizard that shoots lasers be in some way waterproof? Just thinking, like, my phone could survive that. My phone could literally power Mechagodzilla better than that machine could.
Maybe it was waterproof, maybe it wasn't whiskey proof.
Oh yeah, but it seems that like we're going back into it. It seems like they didn't have any other idea apart from Godzilla and Kong are going to fight at the end of the film, and then they're going to go against a bigger threat. Other than that, no one had any idea what the hell was going on, and they just wrote whatever they wanted to just to lead to this part. And I don't want
whatever would get us there the quickest
to go that way. It just seems it just rings so hollow, and looks like maybe a lot of effort did go into it, but that first hour and a half, it felt like nothing majorly went into it apart from like a weird 3 different separate structure act plot to try and entice us in. It's just weird.
The biggest issue I had, and this is the only note I made on this film, was how lucky was it that Godzilla was stood at the exact right spot to breathe his little energy beam right down to exactly where King Kong was stood.
Oh no, I think that was planned. I think because he went there because he sensed the energy signature.
No, but I thought he was going because I thought he went there because he sensed Mechagodzilla. Like he did.
But I think that corporation built their headquarters on top of where the Hollow Earth center would be because they needed the energy. That's the only bit I understood.
That made sense to me.
I just wasn't buying it. I was like, I thought it was too much of a coincidence.
Oh no!
And also, how can he stand up in the middle of the ocean?
Yeah, I mean, that's always been a thing in this. Godzilla 2 as well. He's just stood in the middle of the ocean.
Where's the scale? Yeah.
And then but you see him. If he was just standing, I'd accept it. Then we see him swimming around really deep, and I'm like, well,
Which one is it?
Pick a side.
Yeah. The film's main villain, though, that man, was awful.
Damien
He was
Bashir.
nothing but just a caricature, just a rich, ignorant man with a low-button shirt who's always seems to be holding a whiskey. Like, did they
Mustache
even
twirling.
write a character here, or did they just add scraps of unused James Bond villains they just found on like the cutting room floor?
I don't think
that's what
they
he
wrote
seemed.
any characters here. I think that was
Just an
that is one of the
amalgamation,
problems.
just an amalgamation of the most evil rich man things you can put together. And then I don't know where they were going with him being killed by his own creation. Like, we're supposed to believe in some sort of like, oh, it's Frankenstein's monster. Like, it's
But
just
yeah,
didn't
I guess
work.
I mean, that was the very simple thought behind it. Of I was created this, don't expect it to go wrong, and then
Yeah,
your own
play
creation
God and it'll
destroys
kill
you.
you.
Yeah, exactly. It's very simple.
Yeah.
There's no nuance or any thought behind anything really in this movie. It's just we want these two things to punch each other. So how do we get there the quickest?
And the other guy with him, the guy who's controlling Mechagodzilla, who just dies with that weird electric, you can see it all going through his body like we're watching an 80s B movie. I just thought he seemed slightly intriguing to me because he was this silent, brooding character, and I thought he had more going on. I quite enjoyed. I would have quite enjoyed at the end seeing someone controlling Mechagodzilla if they had better motivations to do so. I thought that would have been a better route to go down. But yeah,
especially because if you look in the credits, that character's name, I can't remember his actual last name, but it's meant to be the son of Ken Watanabe's character.
Yeah, and that
from the Godzilla movies.
That gives grounds for quite a compelling.
That would have been an interesting
backstory.
Yeah,
if they explored that and it actually was its son, because like, why is someone, maybe they could go down the route as maybe his father loved Godzilla so much that he wants to destroy him in some way.
He didn't give him enough attention as a child. Yeah, he didn't give him enough attention as a child. He was just talking about Godzilla all the time. He hates him.
Do we know who Alexander Skarsgård's brother is?
No.
We don't know. Okay. So when they brought him up, like, oh, we're really sorry about your brother. I was like, are we supposed to know who this guy is? Like, maybe he was in Kong Skull Island. I don't know. Like,
they just tried to add whatever ounce of backstory to try and make one watching it slightly interested. Like, oh no, he's lost someone. We can sympathize with that. But then like, they don't give it anything. It's just why have the character there? I didn't know why he was in it, apart from he wrote a book on the Hollow Earth.
That was it. Yeah.
Yeah, and then he gets to go
thinly written.
Yeah, and Carl, why couldn't that character essentially have been Carl Chandler's character? Why was he in the film? Why are you paying Carl Chandler? He had less to do than Millie Bobby Brown's character. Yeah. Like, there's no point of even showing him, apart from, I think all they had in mind was, oh, we want this to feel like one big universe. So for continuity's sake, we're just going to put Millie Bobby Brown and Carl Chandler in it because they're just in the last one.
Why are they worrying about that now, going from 3 to 4 when that's never been a concern before? We've got new characters in all of these movies up till now. So
exactly.
Yeah, didn't really make any sense to me. I guess on a positive note, it did set out to do exactly what it said it was going to do. It is just a fun, flashy, stupid, over the top punch fest between Godzilla and King Kong. I mean, that is it. They never, never promised to be anything more. They never like set things up. And they disappoint.
You could do that in an interesting way.
Yeah,
no one has yet. You could push that, and it could be like this. Look at Mad Max Fury Road. Mad Max Fury Road has so much layer and nuance, but essentially it's just one long chase from A to B. But it's got so much in it, so much substance because they were committed.
When I watched this the first time, my rating was quite a bit higher than it is now. And the more I thought about it, I was like, wait, why am I giving this a pass? Like, if any other movie had a fucking terrible story and there was nothing to it and it was just dumb action, I'd be like, well, it's not that good. And so the second time I watched it, I was like, these problems just pointedly, really, the second time was just not good. Although it is a very quick movie. It's a very quick 2 hours. I looked down at my watch once. I was like, I've got 30 minutes left. And I guess it killed a bit of an afternoon.
Yeah, I
Jack,
think,
we've not heard much from you.
Yeah, he's been very quiet.
Just festering on it, on this terrible, terrible movie.
Go off, man.
I just feel bad because I've never made a film. I don't know how hard it is, but I reckon give me a budget, give me a camera. I reckon I could have done something better than this. There's just so much I didn't like about it, and I'm not really bought into this universe. I really liked Kong Skull Island. It's not as good as the Peter Jackson King Kong movie.
No one is.
Because that's immense.
the greatest.
Yeah, the best. I just feel like some of these points are stupid, but in my head they're valid. King Kong has some semblance of personality throughout the film because I guess he can be more expressive. Whenever Godzilla was on screen, I was just fucking bored. I was like, I hate this stupid lizard. I wish he would just piss off.
They like Kong had an arc, really.
Yeah.
And you could, see yourself
Oh.
following Kong through a movie, but Godzilla, like that's why I said he was the antagonist, because he was so hollow.
Is the film called Godzilla v Kong or Kong v Godzilla?
Godzilla v Kong
versus Kong.
Yeah. Well, they've ruined that. Like, if it's about Kong, but Kong first.
Yeah, I thought that. And I thought the thing was because at the end of Godzilla 2, he is the alpha. He defeats King Ghidorah, so he is therefore king of the monsters. So I logically thought, I was like, oh, Kong will win, and then he'll be King Kong.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, oh, I figured it out. Nope.
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought as well. I was like,
he's got the belt.
I was like,
Yeah.
Kong's gonna fucking do him. I was like, Godzilla's gonna have the first round, and then Kong's gonna come in. He's gonna be the undefeated, undisputed. But like, there was just so much. That whole first fight with them on by the air carriers. Yeah, Reese's point of they keep launching out ships to like shoot Godzilla, and you're just ending lives senselessly. I don't like how the whole time, like at the end when Godzilla's been like knocked out. No, sorry, when King Kong's been knocked out and he like plays dead, and they just turn their ship off, and like all these other people around them are just dead, and there's no mourning. There's no like, oh, we probably shouldn't have brought so many people.
Godzilla a moron? Why did he just leave?
Yeah, and then
Supposed to be the king.
Idiot
to be a king.
And
Just got laser breath.
Yeah. And then in the end, they decide, do you know what? If we just get a couple ships in a big bloody net, we can just carry him. We can just carry him all the way there. If that was an option, if that was ever an option, which it wouldn't be in the real fucking world, just do it from the beginning. Save countless lives.
Yeah.
Just
It's
carry
so
him
much
all the way
quicker
there.
as well.
Yeah, so much quicker. And like just go high enough so that Godzilla can't catch you. He's got tiny arms.
Also,
Talking about,
why wasn't King Kong more pissed off that that little girl lied to him about his family?
Oh,
Like
she
said,
did say maybe. She did say they might be.
I'd be a little bit more mad if I was him. I gone all our way, and I've had to fight these giant, what looked like face things from Alien crossed with moths. And there's no one here.
If Reese was King Kong, he'd be like, "Oh, where's me mum?
Where is she then?
Where's my mum? Where's my dad? I come all this
Where's
way.
my mum?"
All I've got is these massive fucking bat things.
Yeah, that was the best part of the film when he ripped off that bat's head and drank its blood. I was like, "That's rock and roll, man."
That was one of the points in the movie because Kong gets trapped by this flying thing, and he's like, "Oh, we need to help him." I was like, "Oh, how are they going to do that?" Stupid me didn't realize this ridiculous contraption they're flying in just shoots out about 50 missiles. And it was just over so quickly. It was like, how do we get there? Oh, well, we've got this. And it was just no struggle. It was just, and that was one of the points in the movie. About 4 times it hit me. I was like, I'm looking at nothing. I was like, there's nothing there on screen. And like, we watch a lot of, obviously a lot of blockbusters are just filled with CG. And a lot of times we are just looking at something completely created on a computer. But I've never had that before where I've sat back and gone, this is meant to be a movie, and I was like, I'm looking at nothing, and it was
like
just a Saturday morning cartoon. That was all
I was
it
trying to
was.
explain it to my girlfriend how it. So I messaged you guys saying that I think it looks weird, and I don't know if it's just because I'm not used to watching films in like 4K Ultra HD, so I haven't like adjusted to it yet. But a lot of times it felt like I was watching like a cutscene in a video game, like the way, like especially when the ships are flying about. I was watching it and I was like, something is off about them.
Yeah, that's what you could get with just bad CGI.
I couldn't put my finger on what I was watching. I was like, it's annoying me.
I think the
and it was pulling me
CGI,
out of the film.
the CGI itself was good, but there was no attempt to mask it and ground it in any reality like they have done. I know that was a big part of Godzilla 2. Was that while it was one of my problems because it was at parts just too dim and I had no idea what was going on. There was that attempt to mask it with, snow, rain, darkness. So you weren't just looking at a cartoon, and there was none of that in this.
Yeah,
it just looked so fake. It really got on my nerves.
Oh, it was just it was just a mess. There was just the whole. What I didn't like as well is Brian Tyree Henry's character is that janitor who works for, what is it, Apex? Is that what it's called? The company?
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's like infiltrated it so he can do his podcast and he can expose them. Do they ever tell you why he knows all this stuff? Like, because he's just a janitor, but like, what was he beforehand? Because he's basically Mr. Exposition. He explains everything to the kids. But why does he know all this stuff? Do they ever tell you what he actually is, apart from just a host of a podcast?
He's just a conspiracy theorist.
Just because he's Mr. Exposition, pretty much.
He needs to know it.
They reserve that to a character who actually knows what they're talking about, not a conspiracy theorist. How can you
scientist
can't put a conspiracy theorist in your film and him being the voice of reason?
And then they gave us this like half-ass backstory about his wife dying, and like it adds nothing to the characters. We didn't need to know that. Like, why?
All it did was set up the whiskey.
Yeah, it sets up
it was the
whiskey,
same as
well, that's terrible.
Isn't him Isa Gonzalez in real life?
Yeah.
Her character. Why is she there?
It's just to remind. I guess someone asked me this question the other day. It was just to remind you of, Apex's, I guess, shady motivations. That he needed some
I feel like we didn't need. Like she just shows up. She did all this science stuff. Went, feel free to be impressed, which bugged the shit out of me. And then she just died.
Yeah, I thought she was going to turn around and be like, oh no, like my dad is an evil piece of shit. Like, and I'm seeing Kong be sort of human now because she started calling him a monkey at the beginning and stuff.
Yeah.
So I thought her natural progression was to become more, be around these people and actually see through their eyes for a change. And then at the end, sort of come around and then be the, then they could sort of, if they're going to keep going with this universe, they keep Apex in it and have her at the helm of it, not like trying to sort of better it. But yeah, I felt like that would have been
too much
way
writing
for her character to go. Yeah.
They would have had to spend more than 2 days on the script for that.
I don't know if this, like, my feelings for this universe so far is I kind of want it to fall through, just like the Universal Monsters one did with the Mummy and so on, and then they should hand the projects over to smaller sort of indie up-and-coming directors who can essentially do something good with it, because that's working so well for the other
that's what they have
monsters.
Done. That's what they have done with this, though. They've all been indie directors, and
they
have got up until now they have put a stamp on each of the movies where I've been like, I can see they're going for a style here, but there was just. I mean, Adam Wingard's made 2 good movies and 2 very bad movies, but here there was just, I couldn't see like an ounce of him in this movie. It was just, you could have told me anyone directed this movie. I would have gone, well, yeah, fine, sure.
Yeah, but with the indie filmmakers as well, maybe they should, maybe these sort of things, sometimes things benefit from having less of a budget because they're working on
get more creative,
and then they get more creative in it. So maybe that like the the likes of The Invisible Man did so well.
Yeah,
maybe we need something like that.
It's what
King
happens
Kong doing
when
house invasions.
Yeah, it's what happens when instead of just writing a story and being concerned with that, you're more concerned about setting up a universe. And I don't know, I never needed Godzilla to turn into a big, MCU style thing. Godzilla on his own is fine for me. I don't need, I didn't need this.
Godzilla always works better with themes. Like I
Yeah.
know Japan recently made that Shin Godzilla where they used a miniature, and that still spoke about like real world issues. He's always like Godzilla was born out of the sort of atom bomb being dropped on Japan because they needed something big that would strike fear into people that they were so familiar with from that. So, and now often he's being used more as a theme to explore global warming and climate change. Maybe they do need to lean more into that and less on the big blockbuster side of things.
Yeah, I know they've not announced any more of these movies after this. I know it's done quite well considering the pandemic. It's done quite well box office wise, but this could end here and I really wouldn't care. I don't need to see any more of these.
Another thing
I'm sure Kong and Godzilla have probably signed up to some other films by now. So.
Like, this whole thing about
like
we're talking about Apex being a bit seedy in it and being a bit dodgy, right?
Yeah.
But I don't think many people would have objected to this guy being like, oh, by the way, I want to make this big robot thing that'll keep us safe if any more of these massive monsters decide to randomly attack us. Like, to me, that seems like quite a reasonable way to deal with them.
Not when they're called Apex.
Yeah, but like
when their plan is in their name.
Yeah, but like, it seems like quite a reasonable thing to do. Like, it just kind of seems like he's trying to do what they did in Pacific Rim. Just like, we're gonna make this robot that can keep us safe.
Speaking of Pacific Rim, why did they have to make this robot Godzilla like shaped or sized?
Yeah,
you got to do so much more. Yeah, why do you have to copy him?
Yeah,
I guess because it is Mecha Godzilla and it already exists, and that's all this movie as well is.
But the thing with Pacific Rim as well is it works better because the Jaegers are government owned. If it's a corporation in a film, they're always going to be portrayed as having too much power because that's the way they are. Yeah.
Watching that last fight between Mechagodzilla and the other two just really drained me. Again, I was like, and there was such a disregard. I've never seen a film with such disregard for human life.
Yeah.
I was like, how many people just got crushed because Kong took one step? Like, this is ridiculous. There's no attempt to make it, to ground it and have it from our perspective. It's just collateral damage, and there's no care for it at all.
There were a few moments during that final fight where I thought Kong had one of them had just won, and in my head I was like, "Oh, good, that means it's going to be over." and then we were like, "No, Godzilla would be fine," and then I'd be like, "Oh, no, okay, so the finishing blow is coming now." Like, it's not very often when I'm kind of just wishing like I want this to end.
I was quite exhausted by the end.
With the podcast character as well, like you said about the loss of human life. Was it that outlandish for the government to sort of take that on board and feel like, because all through the film, Godzilla is very clearly only attacking the apex bases. Was it too much of a weird idea to evacuate all the cities where there's an apex base? So because Godzilla might attack or have a massive fight in it, but no, like Tokyo was just still full of people. Like, people would surely try and evacuate as best they could in these situations if an apex base is there. And you even see on the news when he attacks the first apex base that he hasn't even gone over the line of where the city starts. He's just attacked the apex base. Like,
and that was like considered part of the conspiracy, where he's like, "Oh, what's he going after? What's his mission?" And like, you've said it. He's just attacking apex bases. It's stupid.
Also, the Brian Tyree Henry's podcast character, what really annoyed me. So you've got this podcast which is trying to out all the terrible things that Apex are doing and stuff. And he says he's an Apex employee gone undercover.
Mm.
Does no one in his chain think, oh, that's Brian's voice? Because he doesn't mask his voice. He doesn't really hide his identity. He just doesn't say his name. If like you had your own separate podcast outing this podcast, I'd be like, that's James. James is doing that. Why is he doing this? I'd know it was you straight away.
Is Millie Bobby Brown is his only listener?
Maybe, yeah.
He gets one listener.
Millie Bobby Brown and the guy from, I don't know his name, the guy from Deadpool 2 and
Deadpool 2,
the Will People. Yeah. The spiller of whiskey. His only function in the
Mega
film.
Godzilla kid.
Yeah. He says Mecha Godzilla, he's reluctant to be there and he spills whiskey. That's his only function in the film. Oh, I'm exhausted talking about it.
I was just about to say, I don't know if I want to talk about this movie anymore.
I'm glad we don't have to. I'm glad we don't have to hit like a minimum time quota.
Yeah. I'm more disappointed now because I've Googled the director and I've seen what else he's directed.
What else has he done? I don't know.
He's directed You're Next.
Great movie.
The Guest.
Great movie.
Good, yeah.
He's directed segments in both VHS films, which are
then he also did
horror films.
Then he also did Blair Witch and the Death Note.
Yeah.
Live action Death Note.
We'll ignore that.
So he's got 2 good and 2 bad.
3 bad now.
3 bad now.
Yeah.
Again, I suspect with movies like this, he's, and because there are such limited scenes with humans and because nothing happens in them. So he's directing all them. And then I imagine all the Kong and Godzilla fight is just previs anyway.
Yeah.
So how much did he really have to do? And that's why they get these indie directors for big movies like this, because you're going to get, you're going to get them in and they get told what to do. And then
for a day's work,
then a product comes out. And that's what this felt like.
Honestly, I would have preferred, I did say before going into it, I hope they didn't concentrate on the humans too much, but then they just made them so unwatchable.
Well, that's what this movie just proved, that it's the focus isn't the issue, it's the writing.
Yeah.
And just make them interesting and we won't care.
I would have preferred it if they were just like, we're going to release a 20-minute short of a Royal Rumble between Godzilla and King Kong. There's going to be that's all it is. There's going to be like a pre-roll explaining why, and we're just going to watch it. I would have much preferred that, because knowing that they spent all these months or whatever on it just to produce that, it just upsets me.
Right. Well,
I'd rather knock something out in 20 minutes.
While we're all on a high talking about this movie, shall we rate it?
Yeah.
I think I need to get it out. Jack, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I'm gonna go for a 3.
3.
Just because that might be harsh. Maybe a 4. I did like King Kong. I like that they try and give him some semblance of personality. I think it's easier to do than it is for a giant lizard.
Yeah.
Since I guess apes are closer to humans. I did kind of like the whole thing with him being able to essentially talk with the little girl. Thought that was the only kind of thing that I enjoyed. I wish I went into this, I wasn't expecting much, but I thought it was going to be enjoyable. I thought it was going to be senseless monkey lizard action, but it wasn't even really that. So I'm gonna 3.5.
3.5. Calvin?
I think, I'm gonna go for a 3.5 as well out of 10. It would be lower, but I do think there is a sort of semblance of an idea there, which is a shame that it turned out like this, because I think the stuff with the little girl in Kong was good. I like that Kong had his own arc, but it's just the execution of all it. The dialogue was so bad, the script was so bad, the plot was too incomprehensible. I feel like they just need a close knit of cast of human characters who are better developed if they're going to have them. And I do think that's why something like Kong Skull Island works. You have this close-knit group who we don't go away from the entire film.
Yeah.
And I actually think why I'm rating this film so low is because it doesn't have its own sense of individuality, which I think all of the other installments so far do have.
Yeah.
And especially Kong Skull Island, which I think has the most sort of personality out of all the films.
Yeah.
Out of all of these. And I think that comes down to because they've tried to make it a film where it's just what it says it is on the tin. It's not meant to be anything more than it is. But then it fell short of that as well. So for me, this one I'm giving it a 3.5.
Reese?
I don't know, I'm trying to think. Do any of you remember what I rated Justice League?
A 4 or something?
Okay. I'll give this a 4.5 then.
I thought you liked this movie.
I said it was fun.
Maximum of Justice League.
I didn't say it was good.
I'm actually going to be the highest rated then.
Then
Okay, I'll give it a 5. I'll go middle of the
rethink your
road.
reasons.
I'll give it a 5.
Okay.
Because
go on.
I'm telling you, the only reason it's got that 5 is because of that King Kong butt scratch.
Butt scratch.
That's what put it back for me.
That.
Yeah, it's just I don't know. It's like after I finished it, I didn't feel like I'd wasted my time, but I didn't feel like I'd, had any sort of massive enjoyment from it. And again, the human characters. If it was just the people with Kong, maybe I'd be more interested, but the other lot just kind of ruined it for me. And yeah, just sometimes it looked a bit weird. I didn't like it. So
Yeah,
it's a 5.
I'm also going to go a 5. First watch, I was like, it did entertain me. I wasn't bored. It was fun. It was stupid, which sometimes, I'm in the mood for that sometimes. And then I watched it again, and I was like, oh no, why? There's just so many problems in it. Yeah, why I shouldn't excuse this for having a shoddy script if I wouldn't do that for anything else. So a 5, yeah, it just struck me too many times that there's nothing there. There's just I couldn't even if I didn't know Adam Wingard directed this, I wouldn't be able to tell you who did. I think it is better than Godzilla King of the Monsters, which while had some interesting ideas and approached the monsters in kind of an interesting way, was just so convoluted and stupid. And I watched that movie recently as well, and that's really bad. So I like this is like the third best or second worst out of all the MonsterVerse movies for me. Yeah, a 5.
Well, that was really positive.
That really drained me talking about that movie. I never want to talk about this movie again.
Yeah, I hope people don't ask me, and I hope my friends don't ask me for my opinions, because I'm going to refer them to this.
Yeah,
because I don't want to have to talk about it anymore.
Thanks as always for listening, guys. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at Keeping It Real UK. From there, you can find links to our Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. Please like, rate, and subscribe where you can. If you are watching this on YouTube, then we want to know what you thought of Godzilla vs. Kong down in the comment section below. We'll see you next on Monday for our Falcon and Winter Soldier episode 4 review. Until then, please share this around if you enjoy, and we'll see you soon.